seconds. Popcorn out. Good evening and welcome to Foster City and to the Estero Municipal Improvement District meeting tonight in our chambers. Monday, March 15th, and welcome to all of you. I would like to call this meeting to order, and I would like to ask Gary Pollard, our former chair of our Park and Rec Committee, to say the pledge. Lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Gary. Next item, please.
Roll call, council members, ex officio EMIT directors Charlie Bernisky.
Here.
Art Kiesel.
Here.
Steve Okamoto.
Here.
Herb Perez.
Here.
And Mayor President Pam Frisella.
Here. Next item, please.
Item 4, public. This is an opportunity for the public to address the City Council EMIT Board on matters not listed on the agenda.
Okay, I do have one person that would like to speak, that it is not on the agenda. So I'd like to ask Casey Carmody to come up to the podium and tell us your good news.
Good evening, Mayor Frisella and council members. I am Casey Carmody, and I'm the president of the Foster City Tennis Club. I'm here once again representing the club and the entire tennis community in Foster City. We are truly fortunate as a community tennis association to have a city whose management has long-term vision to ensure that the facilities are proactively maintained. The public courts in Foster City are among the nicest on the peninsula, which reflects the high standard that the city strives to achieve in its parks and recreation program. This priority was recently demonstrated by the approval of a resurfacing project, which will include 3 courts at Edgewater Park and 2 at Catamaran, and we do appreciate that. In 2012, the Foster City Tennis Club's Board of Directors approved a pledge of $2,000 a year, 5 years, for a total of $10,000 to the Foster City Foundation for the sole purpose of capital improvements to the tennis court facilities in the city of Foster City. So in recognition of the decades of partnership between the city of Foster City and the Foster City Tennis Club, and in appreciation for the support of the city in general and the Parks and Recreation staff in particular, I am proud to present this $2,000 contribution from the Foster City Tennis Club to the Foster City Foundation as a sign of our 2 entities working together to promote tennis in Foster City. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Oh, do I have to get this one? Who's it made of? Oh.
It doesn't say Pam on it.
Well, Casey, before you leave, I just wanted to say thank you. I know my sister's on the Foster City Tennis Club, so I have to always take care of her too. But I'm so happy that you've made that contribution and over the amount of time that you're doing it, because it just shows that you appreciate what we're doing, and we love having you there. But as you know, it's very expensive to maintain tennis courts. So that we have any contribution at all, I think just is a show of good faith and how much you appreciate what our parks and Kevin Miller does and what the whole city is committed to. So thank you so much. You guys too. Thank you, you brought us tennis racket.
Just in case you get hit us or something.
Okay. What a racket, yeah. Okay, next item, please.
Item 5, City EMID Consent Calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council EMID Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion unless removed by a member of the council, board, staff, or public.
Okay, I have Charlie Bernitsky would like to pull 5.2.4. That's the
And
same
I
one.
want 5.2.3.
Okay, can I have a
Oh,
motion?
I'm sorry, the staff wants to pull 5.2.2 and 5.5.2. We will put that on a future agenda. That's the approval of the personnel rules. We had a
Alright.
late request from one of the groups to just clarify a couple of things. So we'll just withdraw it completely from the consent calendar and put it on a future meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the remaining?
Motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
Okay, so Doris, do you want to,
5.2.3 and the accompanying EMID Resolution 5.5.3. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Foster City approving a temporary inter-fund loan in the amount of $100,000 from the district's general fund to the city's Sustainable Foster City Fund, effective June 30, 2013.
you have a question?
Yeah, my question or really is, we're waiting for the Department of Finance. And I'm going to pause right here. That could be a while. We have this in place so that we could sustain this for a period of time. Actually, let me rephrase it for you. When do you expect to hear from the Department of Finance?
Interestingly enough, we spoke with them. I spoke with them on Thursday. I gave them some information that they needed today. They have indicated to me that they're planning on issuing their letter to us this week. Of course, they said that several weeks ago. We've provided all the information that they need. We're hoping that we get a decision fairly shortly. And then we will then be working with the city council in closed session in terms of how we want to respond to that letter. Suffice it to say, though, is that this $100,000 that would be a loan from the general fund as a stopgap to be able to fund that, it's likely that this could be resolved over clearly the next year.
Optimistically.
Yeah, well, it's not that I have a problem with the loan. I was at the league board meeting last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and up and down the state, there's not a whole lot of confidence in what's going on the dissolving the
dissolution.
RDAs and Department of Finance, because Department of Finance is still in a mess.
Yeah.
That's my concern. Okay, other than that, I'll move for approval.
Okay,
Second?
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500 for both city and district resolutions.
So 5.2.4,
5.2.4, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Foster City, California, approving an assignment of rights under the exclusive right to negotiate agreement from the New Home Company, Northern California, to TNHC HW Foster City.
Charlie?
So really, my issue is this, we picked a new home company in part because of their plan and part because of who they were, so when we turn around to hand off the ball, I want to make sure we're handing off the ball to the new home company and it isn't somebody else that's stepping in, because I've seen fancy names and stuff in here. And I just want to make sure that they're still running the show and this is not some handoff to some other developer that, is not the one we
The
picked.
short answer is yes, but Brian Olin, if you'll please come forward and he can give you a direct representation of your question.
He still looks familiar.
Hi, Madam Mayor and members of the council, thank you. It's a good question, and this is a very positive step. What this is a financing mechanism by which, in the term sheet, there was a contemplation of the formation of an LLC to fund the project. So this is basically the project being funded. We're bringing in a partner who's an equity partner. Oftentimes, people either get debt or equity. We're bringing in Hillwood, who has a lot of capacity and a lot of will to do this development with us. Under the terms of the agreement, we are the managing member, so you will continue to see me at this podium. You'll continue to see our entire development team throughout the project.
Okay, I'm satisfied. I move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for the explanation and reassurance. Okay, next item, please.
Item 6, public hearings. 6.1, a public hearing to hear and consider comments regarding the fiscal year 2013-2014 appropriations limit of the city district.
Okay, I will open the public hearing and ask for the staff report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The appropriations limit is the spending limits of the City General Fund, Special Revenue Funds, and Capital Improvement Project Fund. Proposition 4, known as the GAN limit, was passed on November 6, 1979 special election, which restricts the growth of appropriations enacted by the local governments in their annual budget. In June 1990, Proposition 111 was passed to provide additional spending limit calculation guidelines for the state and local governments. The combined effect of these two legislations is to restrict the growth of appropriations of local government by inflation and population growth. The growth factors used for fiscal year 2013-2014 are the change in California per capita personal income of 2012 and the population growth in San Mateo County as of January 1st, 2013. These factors are provided by the California Department of Finance. We apply these adjustment factors in determining our compliance to the city district annual budget. The city district is well within the appropriations limit. The calculation is audited and validated by the independent auditor during the annual audit each year. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to respond to your question if there's any.
Okay, first, I'd like to see if there's any public testimony. Anybody would like to speak on this subject? Anyone that understands this subject? Okay, good. Then I will close the public hearing and ask if,
I just said I understood.
and ask if anyone has any questions of staff. No questions? Okay, so I need a motion to,
Move to adopt the
the
resolution?
resolution. Yes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then do we need a separate one for? the-
No, you can entertain one
Okay.
motion for both, both city and district resolution, and that is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Foster City establishing the fiscal year 2013 to 2014 appropriations limit pursuant to Article 13B of the California Constitution.
Okay. I just want to remind people, too, at any of the upcoming things on the agenda, if you would like to speak to them, you need to fill out from Doris a yellow speakers form. So if you want to make comments on anything, please just go and ask her for one of those, and then I'll call on you. So next item, please.
Item 6.2, a public hearing to hear and consider comments regarding the review of the Chess Hatch Master Plan located at a project site bounded by Chess Drive to the northwest, the Foster City Lagoon to the northeast, State Route 92 to the southeast, and Foster City Boulevard to the southwest in the Chess neighborhood, APN 094-010-100, 500, 510, including adoption of an addendum to the final environmental impact report, EA 07001A, and rezoning general development plan to change the zoning designation from M1PD Light Industrial Plant Development District to CM/PD Commercial Mixed Plant Development District with a new general development plan to allow up to 800,000 square feet of office, biotechnical, or research and development uses in 3 buildings, RZ 07002, and development agreement DA 09002.
Darn, she's good.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing again and ask for the staff report.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, as Doris indicated, there are 3 applications before you. An environmental assessment to adopt an addendum to the Chess Hatch EIR, a rezoning and general development plan, and a development agreement. This project has a fairly long history. It began in 2005 and 2006 when staff initiated a study of the Pilgrim Triton and Chess Hatch areas. In 2007, study sessions were held on an earlier version of the Chess Hatch Master Plan. In 2008 and 9, an EIR was prepared. And in 2009, you certified that EIR and approved a general plan amendment. In 2010 and 11, there were additional study sessions on the development of the Chess Hatch Master Plan and also a design principles document. The major change is that the taller buildings were moved away from the corner of Foster City and Chess Drive. And then in 2011 to the present, an addendum was prepared to supplement the information in the EIR, and a development agreement was negotiated. On June 20th, 2013, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the addendum, the rezoning, and the development agreement. This is a vicinity map showing the project site between Chess Drive and State Route 92 and Foster City Boulevard and the narrow section of the Foster City Lagoon. This is the earlier master plan, which was the subject of the EIR. It had 3 tower buildings all above parking below. And you can see the layout is, this curvilinear layout here. In 2000, the current master plan that's before you tonight is this layout and what's shown on the model on the table. So there are 2 separate parking garages. In the middle, there are 2 tower elements with a connector building. And then at the end of the site near the canal is a 3rd tower element over parking. The total square footage remains the same at up to 800,000 square feet. The proposal is that the project could be built in phases, or it could be built all at once. This shows what would happen if the south phase was constructed first. This shows the center phase being constructed first. And then this shows the north phase. So either one of the 3 phases could occur first. The environmental assessment includes both the EIR prepared in 2009 and the addendum. In 2009, you approved a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits to the project outweigh the significant adverse impacts, which were identified as traffic and construction noise. The primary change between that previous master plan and the current one is the visual impact as a result of the movement of the taller building away from the corner. And so there are new photo simulations in the addendum to the EIR that illustrate that. The mitigation measures from the EIR will be included as conditions of approval when the use permits come forward. And you are being asked to make a finding that the EIR, together with the addendum, comprise an adequate environmental document for the project. These are the photo simulations that are in the addendum. On the left is the 2009 master plan viewed from Chess and Foster City Boulevard. And then on the right, you can see now the building is lower where it's closer to the corner, and the taller building is back in the background. This is a view from Foster City Boulevard, a little bit north of Chess Drive. Again, you can see the taller building is moved farther away from the corner. And then finally, this is the overpass going over Foster City Boulevard. And again, on the left, you see the old master plan with the tall building relatively close to Foster City Boulevard. And on the right, you can see the taller building farther away. Traffic was one of the issues related to this project. Matt Goin from Fair and Pierce is present tonight if you have any questions about the traffic analysis. The amount of trips to be generated isn't any different from the currently proposed 800,000 square feet than compared to the previously proposed 800,000 square feet. So there was no new traffic analysis required. There is, however, some newer information available now, which you have seen in the public review draft of the Gilead EIR. And in fact, there are several places where the levels of service projected now in that Gilead draft are a little bit better than what was projected in 2009 in the Chess EIR. For instance, the Foster City Chess Drive intersection is proposed to be D in the PM peak instead of F, and the Foster City Boulevard Marlin Avenue is proposed to be D instead of F. One of the actions before you is the rezoning and general development plan. This would change the zoning from M1PD, or light industrial plan development, to CMPD, or commercial mix plan development. The new general development plan would allow up to 800,000 square feet of office, biotechnology, or research and development, with up to 5,000 square feet of business supporting commercial. This is in line with the general plan amendment you approved to allow a broader array of uses in this area. The site plans attached to the rezoning ordinance, as well as limitations that are attached as Exhibit C. Use permits, which include the actual design of the buildings, would show compliance with the Chess Hatch Design Principles document, which was attached in your packet. The development agreement has an initial term of up to 5 years that could be extended up to 12. It includes a number of different payments. To extend the term to 10 years requires a payment of $960,470 of traffic payments and either expenditure of $500,000 towards marketing and preparing a use permit, or submittal of the complete use permit application. It also requires traffic payments of a little less than $4 million, $100,000 upon execution of the development agreement, and a little less than $300,000 at submittal of the first building permit, and then $3.5 million upon issuance of the first building permit. The project is committed to be LEED Silver. It is subject to impact fees as they are in effect as of the approval of the use permit. They are obligated to contribute to shuttle bus operation as part of their transportation demand management program. And then there's an additional $1 million due prior to the first building permit issuance, and another $1 million prior to the second building. In conclusion, we are recommending that you adopt the resolution adopting the addendum to the EIR, that you introduce the ordinance for the rezoning and general development plan, and that you also introduce the ordinance for the Chess Hatch Master Development Agreement. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know the applicant also has a presentation to make.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. We will receive public testimony now, and so you want to present that now? Or do you want to have
The
questions
applicant,
first?
I think they have a little presentation here that I'm going to put up for
Oh, you
them.
Good evening, Mayor Frisella and council members. Thanks for sharing your evening with us here tonight. My name is Maris Ota, and I'm a project manager with Ceres Regis. Together with my colleagues Jeff Holtzman, Jeff Bradwell, and Rob Abbey, we're representing both Northwestern Mutual and Seacliff here tonight. We're also joined by Bill Turner and Eric Rogers from the Architectural Office of Valerio DeWalt Train. Mike Moran of Cassidy Turley is also here tonight. Cassidy Turley has been selected by Northwestern Mutual to market the new office space. This team has been working hand in hand with Leslie Carmichael and Curtis Banks in the planning department, and we'd like to express our thanks to them as well as to the office of City Manager Jim Hardy for all of the guidance that we've gotten to get us to this point here tonight. We're definitely excited to be here, in large part because your approval of the development agreement, the EIR addendum, and the rezoning general plan amendment is an important step in kicking off the next phase of the project, which is the use permit application. Thank you. Northwestern Mutual has already submitted for a use permit application and the corresponding deposit for 600,000 square feet of office space. In addition, full funding for the use permit phase has been approved by their board of directors. We've further engaged the team of engineers and consultants to complement Valerio DeWalt Train. And in the short month since we were last here in front of the Planning Commission, we've already had a good number of project planning meetings. During this time, Cassidy Turley has offered some key suggestions to enhance the market appeal of these new buildings. The bottom line is that our team is really excited to be here. We're working hard to submit the first package of the use permit deliverables in the next couple of weeks. And through that time, we'll be working with the Planning Commission and city staff, and we look forward to hearing your comments as we move through that period. With that, I'd like to just make our team available to any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions? I guess of staff or? Just staff? Nobody has any questions?
None for staff.
We can ask questions to the developer too, right? Yeah. You have questions?
Of staff.
I just asked that and nobody said anything.
Yes, I said I have questions of staff.
I knew that. Okay, go.
So 5,000 feet of business supporting commercial, what does that mean?
It could be retail, could be a little restaurant. In the development agreement, I believe there is a definition. Let me find it.
I apologize that I didn't read all 200-some pages, but I didn't. And so that's why some of these questions are going to come up.
Basically,
But,
these
I mean,
are,
is it retail whose design is solely to support those office buildings as opposed to anything tangential to that?
yes. Basically, if they wanted to have a fitness facility in there that could serve the tenants of the building, or a cafeteria in there that could serve primarily, again, tenants of the building.
Okay. So my next question is, why LEED Silver? Why not Gold or Platinum?
That was part of our discussions with them. The LEED Silver has been consistent with our asks to date, and that's what we proposed as part of this agreement, again, just consistent with some of our other agreements as well.
Okay, but we're now the new sustainable Foster City, so I would like to see further discussion on that as to whether or not we could get something better than that. I think it's the wave of the future, so to speak, and I think getting ahead of the curve, I think, gives them an advantage. So I'd like to see that. Also, my recollection is, because I first saw this when I was on the Planning Commission, I thought we had dealt with some, I know they're just, I don't want to say just, but they're office buildings. We had dealt with some interface between the office buildings and the canal waterfront. Some level of, integration, so it looked like, I don't know, it attached somewhat, and I didn't see any of that here. Again, having not read the 200-plus pages, but looked at the cute pictures and all that, I would, again, like to see that there's some concentration there that, I know it's off to the side in the canal, it's office buildings, but still, I remember we had discussed it back when we first looked at the project, and I would, again, like to see that addressed somehow, somewhere. Those are, I guess, questions and comments,
Yeah,
but I didn't mean to comment, I
I'll
was really
just
questions.
Piggyback off you, there were the pretty pictures and there were tables outside. I think it was just for the development, I'm not sure.
Turn your mic on.
I knew that. I think it was just for that development, but they were big drawings and umbrellas and tables and things, but I do recall that, so. I'm looking at you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I see something here that says funds approved, and so could staff tell me whether that's funds for building, funds for, Cyrus Regis defaulted on the Marabella project, didn't build, and so what guarantees do we have that this is actually going to be built?
Well, there's, I can answer part of that, and maybe the developer ought to answer part of that. One, there's a limited term on the development agreement for them to move forward. They have submitted the applications and will be getting us the plans associated with the use permit. So there is some level of commitment that is started with preparing those. But the development agreement is shorter than some of our other development agreements. Mirabella was never finalized through the process, so this has gone certainly farther than that project did. Obviously, until there is something in the ground and built, you don't have that final guarantee, but that is one of the reasons we negotiated a shorter term on the development agreement.
Has staff penciled out what the difference will be for us in property tax or in potential income?
Yes, there was a fiscal analysis prepared for this project, for the general plan amendment. That's one of the factors we looked at, and Leslie will pull up that total for you.
It's actually at the end of your staff report. It's approximately $407,800 per year. That was a study done in 2009.
And I'll apologize because I like my fellow councilman, it was substantial, so I forgot. Most of this had been approved, so the questions I have are relative to the finances of it. If staff is comfortable that it will be developed, I guess that's going to have to be enough for us. As far as the impact goes, I'm assuming that we have most of the impact fees, because I know we've had some conversations, and those are consistent with what we'll be doing in the future.
They would pay any fees that we have right now. Per the development agreement, they have some limited protection. So when the use permits are approved, they are, for a period of time, locked into whatever fees we have in effect at that time.
And then the only other question I have, is there any anticipation that the public will be, much as we do at Metro Center, the public will have access to the other common areas or public areas?
Wouldn't anticipate, this is a different type
Animal.
of project, and it
Right.
doesn't have those amenities. Kind of going back a little bit to tie into Councilmember Berdinsky's comment as well, we did have some discussion about potentially connecting Chess Hatch with Pilgrim Triton. That's something the developer may choose to look at in the future, and something that we would certainly be amenable to studying with them. And then also, I think some of the things Councilmember Berdinsky brought up about the tie into the lagoon, and things that would come more in the use permit for that building adjacent to that portion of the site.
Are we at the comment section or just the question section, Madam Mayor?
Yeah, I just got really one question, and I'm going to make an assumption that we have a plan in place, that there is a plan in place to assist the displaced businesses that are in the area now.
The applicant does have a plan, and I would invite Maris or members of her team to come to the podium that can discuss that plan if you would like.
You don't need to, I just want to make sure that it's still there in place, because we've had this discussion before.
We have addressed your concern in both revising and updating our letter specific to the tenant relocation plan. Mike Moran at Cassidy Turley will also be available at the option of the current tenants for them to use as a resource if they so choose to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah, this question is of Leslie. In one of your slides, you had the term of 5 years up to 12, but if they wanted to go to 10, there would be an additional payment made. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So the reason I'm asking is because on your description in our agenda items, it doesn't show that particular 10-year payment.
The term of the agreement, let me find this section here to read you.
It's on 6.2.6.
Okay.
On page 6.2.6, there's an outline of the development agreement. So the initial term is 5 years. If they meet certain specifications, it can go to 10 years. and then it's payment of certain fees. And then if they build up to 260,000 square feet, then it can go to the full 12 years for build-out.
Does that satisfy you? Okay, I was wondering from Leslie also, what changed in the traffic pattern that made it go from F to D on Foster Road?
The existing counts were lower, and so that could be a result of more people, for instance, from Gilead, for instance, using their
Buses.
transit or commuting during off-peak hours or telecommuting more. Gilead has a pretty robust transportation demand management plan. The analysis does factor in vacant space, so it's not just because there was vacant space that the counts are lower.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone from the team want to say anything, or if not, anybody else out there that would like to make a comment on this project? I'd be willing to forego the yellow slip, but if there isn't anybody, then I will close the public hearing and ask if I can call for a... Oh, now we have comments, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm excited that we'll actually get something that'll be vital there, so I don't want any of my comments to be construed as negative. The deal has been done, it's been struck, it's going to be great for Foster City. If there's anywhere to have those sort of buildings, it's the perfect place to have those sort of buildings. If staff is comfortable with the traffic and the mitigations that have been made, it will go a long way towards our future budgets and what we're working on with Sustainable Foster City. I just want to make sure we do our best efforts to make sure that it's built timely, and built in a way that will encourage the industries that we want there to be there, and that they'll actually be occupied. And I know that the developer wouldn't be developing it if that were not the case. So I look forward to the project and its completion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I love 99.9% of this. The two things that I'd like to see is, I'd like to see LEED Gold as a standard. And I'd also like, and maybe, I know this developer's been fine with this in the past, but I would like to see, if to the extent it's allowed, as again, a preference during construction for local hiring at prevailing wage. Again, our ability to, help the economy here in San Mateo County, if not directly in Foster City, I'd like to see that in there too. But other than that, I'm excited that this is moving forward, because they've invested a lot of time and money, and I feel as if I've invested a lot of time in this project too, back to the original stuff, and I would like to see it, it succeed, because I think it's a major win for everyone. So those are my comments.
Thanks, Charlie. Steve?
Yeah, I have just two quick comments. One is, I really enjoy working with Saris. I thought they did a beautiful job with Plaza Apartments, and if that is any indication as to how these Chess Hatch buildings will look, I think we'll be very proud of that. But I do have one concern, and Maris was about to discuss the displacement of current tenants. One business there that's been there in Foster City for almost 30 years is Foster City Athletic Club. And they have a lot of space. So I'm just curious to know, what kind of accommodations have you made for that particular business in terms of relocation?
Can you be that specific, or is it, you've just sent out general letters?
We actually have not sent out any letters yet. Okay. We believe that the tenants can remain in place until necessitated by the first phase of construction. So we'll provide at least a 6 months notice when that happens. And again, our broker firms will be available at the request of the individual tenants. We don't want to burden them by having too many cold calls, but they will have this support and assistance relocation available to them if they choose to engage it.
Well, I hope we can do something quickly because, I'm a member there and some of the other residents out there are also members. And, they know that something's going to happen eventually. And so some of the maintenance is deferred because they don't want to put money into it today when they know that in another, year or so, they'll be out of there. So I'm really concerned that, you take care of these folks, okay?
Thank you for mentioning that. We'll be sure to accommodate them.
Yes. Let me start off by saying I think I was about 15 or 16 years old on the Planning Commission when this first came to us. It seems that long ago. Yeah, I was on the Planning Commission in 2005 when this first came, and we were even talking about having steelhead on that waterwork we had in the front. But in all seriousness, I'm liking the project, and I think I'm going to echo Charlie's comment just to enforce it, that, and I did this with the 15-acre project, and that's the prevailing wage. I think we need to support that. So, and I'm going to be a vote for this project.
Well, I agree with all of my colleagues, all of their concerns. I share them. I don't know what the process is, and when you tell planning that you've sent out these letters, I think we're all really concerned, as we are in all of our redevelopments in Foster City, that the existing businesses are at least dealt with and with kid gloves, and hopefully you'll be able to send them in the right direction and help them find another home. So I know there's a lot of people in Foster City that belong to that club, so I know they know it's coming, but it would be, as long as we just keep, it's more to staff, that they can just keep us apprised when this is happening. And so when we run into people out there, that we can tell them, no, this developer is dealing with it. So that's all we can ask of you. So I'd appreciate that. Yeah, one more. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. So if we wanted to have LEED Gold, for example, or we wanted to incorporate the prevailing wage issue, do we need to do that now? Okay.
Before we approve this?
Yes.
It
So-
would affect
so-
the development agreement.
As part of your approval of the development agreement, yes.
Okay. So then I guess maybe we give, I'd like to ask them if if we prove it with LEED Gold, is it gonna be a major issue or not?
Well, I think we've done before that we ask for LEED Silver with the idea that you can possibly go towards gold. I think we've done that in the past. And I think to throw it at them right now that it has to be gold is a little, I don't know how everybody else agrees. I think you can start off with silver, you've promised that, and then work towards gold. Does that sound fair to anybody, or just to me? Yes, Mayor.
So to address your concern for a LEED Gold, I think as aspirational goal, that is something that we can shoot for. There are a number of conditions in the development agreement that are very much aligned with the gold standard without having that explicitly stated. One of them would be the requirement for an on-site renewable energy source. That is something that is above and beyond what we would see for a LEED Silver requirement.
Does that satisfy you?
Sure, and the prevailing wage issue, that's not an issue for you, is it?
Thanks, Jeff.
That's not something that we've prepared to address tonight. We would likely use a union shop, but it's not something that we would be able to commit to tonight.
Well, it's not whether it's union or not, I'm concerned about local hiring and prevailing wage. I'm not promoting unions, I'm promoting the economy in San Mateo County. So that would be a concern to me, and so I don't, if they're not prepared to deal with it, I don't know how we deal with it at this point.
I have a comment as well. In light of those two considerations, which I didn't realize we had impact upon, I would like to see, I would like to see more information on the LEED Gold versus LEED Silver standard, and I actually would like to see a commitment to prevailing wage, because I think that is important. We've had a developer most recently that committed to that standard for us of their own volition. And if that's something they need to pencil in, then I think they should pencil it in. And the reason is we have had much conversation as a matter of policy of treating likely situated developers and developments in likely manners, like-minded manners. So if that is, I too would support more information for local hire and absolutely on the LEED Gold and LEED Silver to understand what the cost differential, and if they need more time to respond to that, then I think
Well,
I would table this for another meeting.
let's separate the two. Let's decide maybe if the silver is committed to with the idea that the gold is, they're working towards. Can we at least settle for that?
I don't know how you're gonna put a condition on it that it's silver and it may be acceptable to gold? I mean, how are you gonna quantify that?
I think we've done that before, that they've committed to silver, and then we say, whatever you can do, and they're already doing some of those things. They're already doing some gold standard, but if you do just some gold, it's not gonna make it a gold development. I don't know.
If I can look, so in this deal, there's $2 million payments in there. If they want to come back and show us that there's impact, we can then make the policy decision of whether we would be willing to reduce those payments to us in consideration for going from silver to gold. Again, sort of the city taking some level of investment in the future of the sustainability efforts. So I think it's important to understand, for those that don't already, what that difference is, what it means to us, and from the developer's standpoint, what's the cost of that to them, and are then we willing to help them with that impact? Same to me for the prevailing wage, although I think I would think we're all pretty much strong on that, but, I don't know how much, waiting until the next one's, I don't even remember, our next meeting is the beginning of August, right? So it's 3 weeks or so? So,
August 19th.
oh, it's the 9th, so it's about a month away. I don't know what impact that has on them, but I would think to give them an opportunity to come back and talk about those issues and have us consider the policy issues and the impact of what we're deciding, because it's clear we don't really know the impact of those issues. It would be the right thing to do, so.
Any other comments from you guys? Okay.
I agree with Councilmember Brzezinski. If they need more time to respond to those two issues, then I would like to give them more time so that we can have a clear picture of what it means, because I want to understand the financial impact to them. And then we can make an informed decision as to what we want relative to leads. With regard to prevailing wage, I'm pretty sure I understand how I feel about it. I don't believe that we can approve this agreement tonight without understanding whether or not they're willing to commit to prevailing wage. While there might be some room on the leads, I don't believe that there is. At least for me, I can't speak for others on that issue.
Well, I guess we need to ask the developer if you're prepared to answer either of those. And I think you pretty much said you weren't.
Madam Mayor, if
Right.
I could offer
Yes.
the council
Sure.
an option, and maybe the city attorney could weigh in as well. You could approve this evening tonight if you wanted the environmental and approve the general development plan, then they could move forward. And you do not have to act this evening on the development agreement. So if you were so inclined, you could just bring back that portion of it.
Okay.
And that might spur the development forward.
How does that help
They
them or
can-
help us?
Well, then they can start moving forward with the use permit process with the planning commission and move forward. They don't have a development agreement, so they would need to come back to you for that.
So my question to the city attorney was, is that vested rights if we do that?
I think the wiser course would be just to continue everything. And leave your public hearing closed. We've already heard whatever comments the public wants to make, and just ask the developer to come back with an answer, or before your next meeting, to submit their
Yeah,
answer to
I'd
those
like-
two
in-
questions.
In light of that, I'd like to move that we table this to the next meeting to give the developer an opportunity to answer the questions we put forth. I don't think they are.
I think I closed the public hearing anyway, right?
Microphone, yeah.
Mike. So I closed the public hearing already, so we will just move this, well, you want to?
Second.
On favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 500 to table this item to the next available meeting, which is August 19th.
And so that goes for all of 6.2, the ordinances, everything. So we're done? Okay, the next item, please.
Item 6.3, a public hearing to hear and consider comments regarding the following applications associated with a 5-story extended stay hotel with up to 121 rooms located at 1299 Chest Drive in the Vintage Park neighborhood, APN 094-901360, including a mitigated negative declaration of environmental impact, EA 12003, and rezoning general development plan amendment to allow an additional hotel in the Vintage Park general development plan, RZ 12002.
Staff? Jean?
Madam Mayor, after discussions with the developer's attorneys, they have requested that this be continued to September 3rd. And so we're asking that you do nothing more than continue this item tonight.
But we'll still need to open the public hearing.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Seeing no one approaching, I will close the public hearing. And
No, you'll leave the public hearing open,
Oh,
but
we'll leave it
continue
open,
the
sorry.
item to the next
So
meeting.
They can call us
September
in
3rd
between?
meeting, that
Okay.
is.
Okay.
We just need a motion to continue the public hearing to September 3rd.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries to continue this item to the September 3rd, 2013 meeting.
Okay, I would like to, for the next item, if it's not too much trouble, is to move old business before new business, if that's acceptable.
I'm sorry, which item?
The old business.
The old business, 10.1?
10.1?
Yes, that can be
Oh.
taken out of agenda order.
Okay, only because the last time that he was here, he spent about 3.5 hours waiting to be heard. So I think it's only fair to move the old business. So if you could read that, please, 10.0.
All right, we have just a brief staff report to introduce that item.
10.1, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Foster City urging the Foster City community not to buy and sell rat and mouse poisons that do not comply with United States Environmental Protection Agency's new risk reduction standards that are necessary to protect children, pets, and wildlife from accidental exposure to rodent bait.
Staff report, please. Andra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. At your meeting on June 17th, you received a report from Raptors Are the Solution regarding its request for the City Council to pass a resolution that would advise against the sale of and use of certain rodent poisons in Foster City. At that time, you had requested some additional information on 3 questions. Those 3 questions were, if the city was not able to use these types of poisons, what would be the impact on the management of rodents on the Levy Pedway? As I think we said in our staff report, but I'll reiterate, we are not currently using those rat poisons, but we did use them as part of a control measure out on the Levy Pedway back in 2008 to 2010. We have not used them since 2010, and we don't currently anticipate a need to restart the program. However, if we did need to have some kind of a program out on the Levy Pedway, staff would work with the County Department of Agriculture and a registered agriculture pest control operator to determine the most effective and efficient alternative. And until we know what the options are out there, and that would depend on what technologies and what chemicals are available at the time we needed them, it's really difficult for us to say what that cost would be. But ultimately, it really should be noted that the action that's being requested is advisory, and if it came right down to it, this council or future councils could make a decision based on council priorities at that time to use any means necessary to protect the city and its infrastructure. The second question was what the residential and commercial options are to these types of poisons, and really the best way to, prevent rodents anywhere is to prevent them from wanting to be there. So integrated pest management policies that would remove, those things that make it home, food, water, and shelter, would be the best way, the cheapest, the easiest, and the safest. But in the event that eradication is needed, then the members of Raptors are the solution, are proponents primarily of the snap traps, which you did hear at the last meeting from the representative that was here. The third question that the council asked was what the likely impact would be on the rodent population citywide in the event that this action was taken. And we did make some calls to some cities that have had this type of a resolution in place for the last, at least last year. And anecdotally, they haven't done any scientific studies, but they haven't experienced a higher call volume or noticed any changes in the amount of work or the observance of rodents in the area. This concludes the staff report. A member of Raptors or the Solution is here tonight if you have additional questions.
Okay, I have two speakers, Kevin Ho and Austin Jan. And I guess you're Ken. They're taller than you now. Can I remember when they were like that? Okay, go ahead, sorry. Introduce yourself.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Kevin Huo.
My name is Austin Chan. We are proud residents of Foster City.
We live in a wonderful natural ecosystem which holds hotspots for bird watchers and nature lovers, which some of you may not know, which is the Levee by Badger Middle School. As bird watchers, not only are humans vulnerable, but hawks and songbirds that are also vulnerable to harmful rat poison.
Rat poison is harmful and can affect Foster City's natural environment. As bird watchers, the loved environment in which we have interpreted through what we have learned through school, the predator and prey process in which a hawk will eat a rat. However, if the rat is poisoned in the cycle, the cycle will be broken, because when the hawk eats the rat and the hawk thus gets the poison from the rat, then the hawks will slowly start to die, and then the other prey that the hawks eat will start to grow more, and soon the population of those prey will be out of sync.
This ultimately affects the environment in Foster City, but for generations to come, they will not be able to enjoy the nature that is here in Foster City that we are enjoying right now. For example, the parks, the levee, or for example, we play basketball, having a nice court with a nice park by the side. So this is something that we need to protect and preserve.
It's important for mayor and all council members to take action on advocating the use of rodent poison, because it is everyone's responsibility to protect Foster City's natural environment.
Thank you.
Well, okay, I really thank you guys for stepping up. You don't get a lot of young people coming to a city council meeting because they usually don't know what's going on in the city, and I'm glad that probably through your dad, you did find out what was going on in the city, and then you made your report, and I appreciate it. We all do. Does anybody have any questions of these boys?
I'm just glad you guys didn't do a rap like the last group that came up. So I was expecting Gangnam Style at some point. But I appreciate that you guys are very passionate about it and very well prepared. Could I ask you a question, though? So could you just explain to me how it would work? So the rat gets killed and then the hawk dies and the basketball courts go away?
What I mean was, Foster City has so many nice parks, and we play basketball. We often enjoy, this is walking distance. Some kids have to walk to basketball courts for long distances and don't have nice trees and grasses to sit in the shade afterwards playing basketball. So, we need to keep this for us, for next generation, maybe even you guys, if you guys take a walk in the park, you know?
Yep. And our walkers, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. Good job. Go Padres. Okay. David Murphy, that waited 3.5 hours last time and then was told that we will bring it back another day.
Yeah, thanks for jumping forward. I appreciate it. I just wanted to address the concern. I know there was an idea of reluctance to pass something that wasn't really enforceable. But I just wanted to encourage you to see these resolutions as not just something you can enforce and having real impact. I mean, your voice is real impact. You know, saying something that you support or are against, even though you can't enforce it, you're making a step towards projecting what you want your city to be, what you are expecting to go forward with in the future of being sustainable and being representing of a great city for the future. And I don't want to reiterate too much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dave. Does anyone have any questions of staff? See?
Yeah, I just had a curious question. If this resolution is passed and we don't allow this particular poison to be sold here in Foster City, do you know if there are any retail outlets that are currently selling this type of poison?
Yeah, the brand name is Decon. I can't remember the parent company. It's the same company that owns Pete's Coffee. But yeah, the brand name's Decon. It's definitely in the Home Depot. I don't know if it's in Orchard. I know Orchard is a lot more willing to talk to local groups and work with them to put up signs of like what's a better, more sustainable alternative, like on their shelves. But yeah, it's here.
We're not saying that we're going to mandate them not to carry it.
Urge them not to.
We're going to urge them not to, but we can't tell them they cannot sell it. Is that right? It's
Yeah,
just a
legally, I
resolution.
don't think the city council can.
Okay.
Make a comment.
All right.
For that.
Well, why don't you stay up there, because the comments
I'm not
might be...
having questions.
Oh, no more questions then.
Okay, thanks.
We'd like to see you get up and down, that's all.
Thanks.
Okay. Comments?
Oh, first off, let me just make it, I've been used decon in the past. It seems like I grow tomatoes, and they seem to love tomatoes, and I get them every year. And so far, I've went to Orchard and got the traps, and right now it's 3 zip rats. I've lost 3 tomatoes already, and I just can't seem to get the trap. And when you try to set a rat trap, this thing the size of a truck, when that thing snaps, it'd like to give me a heart attack. And if anybody set a rat trap. But on the other hand, I'm also very sensitive to the eco-environment. And I appreciate the comment that it's going to percolate its way up the chain. And so I'm going to support this, and I'm going to, hopefully I win the battle in my garden.
Maybe you'll have some help from these boys. They might have a better idea. Do you have any other comments? Charlie?
Well, this is not my idea, but you could put a tomato in the rat trap.
No,
No, not one of you. You go to the store, buy a couple extra tomatoes. They sell them on the vine in the store.
When did they lose control of this?
I want to thank all those young men that spoke today, really, because find something in life that you're passionate about and go and support it and advocate for it and fight for it. And every single one of us that's sitting here is proof positive that one person can make a difference. And today you could go home saying you're the one person that made a difference. So congratulations for you. Congratulations for persevering in this, for pushing a cause that you believe in. Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. Thanks. I'm absolutely going to support this.
Yes.
Question for staff and a comment. What's the impact to us, Kevin?
We indicated in the earlier staff report that we do not use that poison in our buildings and/or our parks. So there's no impact.
I will support it, not just for the passion. the young people and the gentleman that spoke, but because as a resolution, I think it's probably a good idea.
Well, I don't know if I shared the story that I did have, somebody in my neighborhood used the rat poison, and unfortunately, no one can control where the rat goes after it eats it, and they all congregated in my attic, and so there were 9 of them dead above my hood of my stove. And so, I mean, I know it's really gross, but, and then when you call people to come out and take the dead rats out, they know we just trap them. I said, dude, I did your job for you. I trapped them, they're dead. Would you come and get them? And they wouldn't do it. So I know the problem. And I think the biggest solution, as Andres said, is try to keep, food, dog food, cat food, everything not in your backyard. Buy tomatoes at the store. Or get...
I'm changing my vote.
Or get a hothouse or something. But no, and I do appreciate, you coming back again and supporting this, and I know all that you do and your organization does, and we appreciate it. So now, I believe we're ready to take a vote. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
Now we just have to educate everyone to not do that. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, now we're going back to new business.
7.1.
You guys go home and do your homework now. Oh, we finished. Yeah, why does that not surprise me? Bright boys and girls and mom. Okay, 7.1.
7.1, consideration of proposal for concession agreement for Duffy Electric Boat rentals on the Foster City Lagoon.
Staff report?
Madam Mayor and members of council, staff is recommending that by minute order, City Council provide policy direction to staff in regards to the proposed operation of an electric boat rental program by Edgewater Marine LLC on the Foster City Lagoon. It should be noted that all elements of the proposal shall be negotiated and agreed upon as part of a concession operations negotiation and ultimately an agreement. The initial proposal by Edgewater Marine has been reviewed and supported by the city's Interdepartment Evaluation Committee, the city's Parks and Recreation Committee, who endorsed the proposal with an 11-0 vote, as well as the Department of Parks and Recreation, who will manage the concession agreement. Staff is seeking City Council policy direction to proceed with negotiations for contract terms in a concession agreement with the concessionaire. As part of the negotiations process, staff will consider the terms of the contract based on the factors of city resources and concessionaire resources required to provide the services, as well as any City Council input for additional requirements. Staff has provided for City Council an overview of initial issues and comments that have been provided in the public hearing process or the public meeting process. I want to point out a couple of those. This rental is considered a bareboat rental or a boat rental without a hired captain. All insurance requirements will be met, which basically will be a $2 million insurance policy, naming the city and the district as additional insured. Very similar to what we do with our East 3rd Avenue windsurf concession, as well as our windsurf concession on the Foster City Lagoon. There will be a safety training for drivers of the boat. We are looking at exploring resident and non-resident fees with the vendor. As a component of this agreement, we will speak to the identification process of the rental boats. As an example, as identification, meaning the boats will bear the company name and phone number clearly visible on the boat. The vendor will provide all safety equipment consistent with Coast Guard safety standards. Lagoon maps will be provided for each renter, including non-transit zones. The vendor will work with city staff to coordinate a boating safety program as part of the Parks and Recreation Department class offerings, and they'll be responsible for maintaining the general dock area and cleat rental around their rental operation. I've also provided public concern comments for your review. The Parks and Recreation staff believes the concessionaire has addressed these issues that were outlined in the background of the staff report and in our public hearings, as well as discussions with the department staff. Specific regulations and restrictions regarding any of these issues can be and will be incorporated where appropriate into the concession agreement. Staff has received only one proposal for this type of electric boat rental business to date, and it is from Edgewater Marine LLC. If City Council authorizes staff to begin negotiations for a concession contract, staff would recommend the rental concession agreement be for approximately a 3-year period and proceed to negotiate the contract terms with the concessionaire. During negotiations, staff would consider the terms of the contract based on the factors, again, of city resources and concessionaire resources. But it should be noted that there is a clause in our standard concession agreement and contract that allows for the termination of the contract without cause via written notice 30 days prior to termination date if there was a problem. Our recommendation for the contract length of 3 years is based on the concessionaire's investment in equipment, rental boats, insurance costs, and commitment to develop and train staff for the oversight of the operation. The 3-year term is also consistent with all our other city concessionaire contracts. Staff has provided 2 alternatives for City Council consideration this evening. The first alternative would be to direct staff by minute order to begin negotiations for a concession contract with Edgewater Marine. City staff would negotiate with the concessionaire and the percentage payment of gross receipts and include in the concession contract any additional terms as required by City Council. The concession agreement would tentatively be approved or considered for approval by the City Council at the City Council meeting of August 19th, 2013. I believe that's your next council meeting. The second alternative is direct staff not to pursue this concession agreement with Edgewater Marine or pursue other options as directed by council. Staff is recommending alternative 1. That concludes my staff report. I would be happy to answer any questions. Michael Turner and David Murdoch are here tonight to represent Edgewater Marine. They do have a quick overview on their business proposal that they'd like to share with council. I'd be happy to entertain any questions on the staff report, but I would seek council's recommendation after Mr. Turner and Mr. Murdoch have an opportunity to present their overview on their business.
Okay. You're not going to say it together like the young kids? You're not going to say it together?
We'll do a wrap at the end. I have a quick presentation. I'm supposed to put this in here. Madam Mayor, council members, city staff, thank you for considering our proposal for an electric boat rental concession in Foster City. We trust you will find our proposal to be an attractive asset to the city of Foster City, to provide improved recreational access to the Foster City Lagoon, and help improve the economic, social, and community value of Foster City to its residents and visitors. As an introduction, I would like to provide a little background on Dave Murdoch and myself, and then a little bit about Edgewater Marine LLC. Dave Murdoch and I are both residents of Foster City and lifelong boating enthusiasts, enjoying rowing, sailing, ski boats, pontoon boats, houseboats, and electric boats. We felt we had enough experience with boating that we could make a contribution to our hometown of Foster City by forming a business to help build the Foster City lifestyle we enjoy so much, relaxing in an electric boat with friends and family, cruising the Foster City Lagoon. Dave Murdoch and I founded Edgewater Marine LLC in late 2012, and in early 2013, Edgewater Marine LLC was appointed the exclusive Duffy representative for Foster City and the surrounding area. Our operations began in earnest in February, and we have enjoyed a strong welcome from the community, servicing more than 60 Duffy electric boats in our first 5 months of operations, including haul-out cleanings of more than 30 boats, plus extensive electrical and mechanical services, including battery replacement services, electrical system and electronic repair, motor replacements, surrey top and window replacements, hull polishing and waxing, and interior detailing. We have already delivered 6 new Duffy electric boats to Foster City homeowners, and we have more on order. In March, I was granted a California Department of Boating and Waterways yacht and ship salesperson license in conjunction with Classic Yachts of Alameda. We have already completed 6 sales of pre-owned electric boats, and we're looking for more boats to offer to our waiting customers. So far, we feel we are providing an excellent service to waterfront homeowners, but we're not yet serving the rest of the community. Our electric boat rental proposal is designed to expand access to the lagoons, our largest park, to the rest of the community. We have already established a vibrant sales and service business and proven we have the skills, expertise, and support mechanisms needed to properly service Duffy electric boats. Now the challenge is how to help others enjoy the waterway. We believe our plan for a Duffy rental program is proven, safe, and conservative, and will be attractive to Foster City residents as well as residents of our neighboring communities, and will provide a positive economic benefit to Foster City. Before we review the proposal, I would like to share some data and address some of the concerns we have heard about safety and privacy. As you all know, Foster City does not allow power boats. The Duffy electric boats we're talking about are quiet and can only go 5 miles an hour. Rowers, dragon boats, windsurfers, and sailboats can all go faster than a Duffy. What an electric boat affords is access to the waterways for those who may be unable to row or sail, or don't want to get wet. It is civilized, it's fun, it's quiet, it's relaxing, and it's accessible for all age groups. Duffy boats are really easy to drive, and they're really easy to stop. You simply put the motor into reverse to slow and stop the boat. Graceful parking may be a little bit more of a challenge for some, but our program duplicates others in that we will have someone to assist when the boat comes into the dock, so we don't have to worry about a bumpy landing or a little scratch on the boat. We have data from other similar programs implying that most rentals will be 2 hours, and that the renters will rarely choose to dock while renting. At $100 an hour to have lunch while the boat is sitting at the dock just doesn't sound very attractive to a lot of people. And it turns out that most people will just take the picnic and with them on the boat and enjoy lunch and drinks and snacks while they're out there, not likely to stop at public docks. In the unlikely case of a breakdown, we have the capability, equipment, and experience needed to tow any of our rentals if necessary. Duffy and Newport Beach manages over 5,000 rentals per year with some 25 boats. Duffy reports there has been only one insurance claim for $1,200 in the last 2 years caused by a renter. Based on our years of experience boating here, with Foster City's wider channels, significantly less traffic, and no power boats, we believe the incidence of insurance claims in Foster City will likely also be very low. 45% of the Duffy Newport Beach rentals are repeat renters. So that means that 55% are successful as new renters with unknown experience. Our experience with purchases of new and used boats in Foster City implies we will experience a similar pattern. There are over 75 Duffy boats and rentals and various rental programs in Newport Harbor, including the 25 run by Duffy Electric Boats, and there are 500 Duffy boats in rental programs across the United States. In January of this year, in Foster City, we counted 256 electric boats parked in the water. 215 of these are Duffy boats, or 84% of the population just in Foster City. Duffy boats are popular, they're well-known, they're safe, reliable, and they're attractive to renters. The Foster City Islander ran a poll in early June prior to our presentation to the Parks and Recreation Committee. The question was, do you think there should be an electric boat rental business at Leo Ryan Park? And at that time, there were about 180 responses, 5-1 in favor of renting boats, and 1/3 felt that the proposed price was too high. Which means that 2/3 didn't complain about the price. Maybe it should be higher. Thanks for your consideration. Now I'd like to turn this on and review the proposal very briefly that's in the packet in front of you, and then Dave will have a few closing comments. Is that working?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. oops, sorry. So the program is to rent Duffy Electric boats with hours from 11 in the morning till dusk. With seasonality, we'll probably adjust that a little bit, and weather. Price expected to be $100 an hour with a two-hour minimum. That's really kind of typical. It may vary somewhat with the model and size of the boat. We propose that the tie-ups and the rental location be in Ryan Park near the Recreation Center. This illustration on the bottom shows you approximately where that might be, with no permanent facility. So we'd bring the boats in, rent them that day, and then bring them back. Any signage, of course, would be reviewed and approved by the Parks and Recreation Department. This program in its entirety is really based on a pre-existing program. So we're not inventing a new wheel. We're adapting an existing program that's worked for a long time in many parts of the country to Foster City. The initial boats are owned by our company, but we also have a plan to have a sort of charter leaseback program, so other people that own boats that can keep them at their homes can put them into that program and expand the fleet without having us have to own all of them. But our initial plan is to have 2 or 3 boats that we own, and then we expand after that. We expect to do it only with Duffy Electric boats. They're providing the support structure for us, and all safety equipment will be Coast Guard certified and compatible with all Coast Guard standards. And Edgewater Marine will take care of them and make sure that they're operating properly and cleaned and maintained. As Kevin already indicated, a $2 million liability insurance policy would be in place. We'll provide a safety briefing and a copy of the ABCs of California Boating to all the renters, because so that they operate under the standard California guidelines. We'll provide lagoon maps indicating the no transit zone, so they're not supposed to go under the East Hillsdale Boulevard Bridge, and they shouldn't be going over as far as Sea Cloud Park, and they need to stay about 25 feet away from private property. And it'll identify where the legal parking places are, which are all the public docks. So no access into narrow channels, just the main channel. We'll always have towing service available, and we'll require the renters to have cell phones, so if there's a problem, they can call and we can take care of the problem. In terms of security, unlike the average owner of a boat, which can be anyone, and in Foster City, anyone can launch a boat into the Foster City Lagoon, as you know, because it's a public access ramp without supervision. We'll always know who our renters are, because we have to get a credit card from them so we can get paid. We need to take a look at their driver's license to make sure they are who they say they are and they're paying for it. And we'll verify that they have some sort of insurance in place above and beyond what we have. And so we'll have a signed contract. So unlike others we have a friend who actually trailers a Duffy boat from Redwood Shores and puts it in the Foster City Lagoon, and no one knows that unless you know who that is. So this is a more controlled environment where we'll actually know the renters. This just gives you an illustration of what the typical brochure will look like, where the rentals will be, where the reservations are, what the typical hours are. And I don't mean to go through the details of what the guidelines are, but we've gone ahead and redrafted from an existing rental agreement with key terms. The renter of the boat is the captain, and the renter of the boat has to assume responsibility as the captain with everything that's required of a captain. You can't drink and drive. It's against the law. There's a .08. We do expect people to have liquor, beer and wine on the boat, or whatever they want. It's typical for boaters to have a picnic on the boat, and so we're not going to discourage that, but the driver is not allowed to and has to commit to not operating the boat under the influence. No smoking, and that they have to acknowledge and understand what the general rules of the road are that are legally required for operating a boat in an area like this. There's more detail in here, but I don't think I need to go through these slides. And of course, if they damage anything, then we'll charge them for them. We have their credit card. So the benefit is expansion of the community access to the lagoon. It's our largest public park. There will be economic benefits, directly and indirect, because people will come in from out of town and they'll probably have, buy some provisions to take on the boat and stay afterwards and stop at a restaurant afterwards. There'll be more access for people to see the environment. There are a lot of people that we've met that have never seen, that don't know that Foster City exists from the water. They've just never seen it. People that have lived here many, many years have never been out there because they don't paddle boat or they don't canoe or whatever. And this will give them that access. So home value improvement maybe. Electric boats are green, they're environmentally friendly, there's no oil, there's no residue left behind, they're quiet, and they're really fun for everybody to go out and relax. And we think there'll be some interesting opportunities for businesses to take advantage for recognition events or other sort of business meetings that will take place on the boats once they're available. And I don't know, and some of you have been out there in some of these boats when we're parked for the Friday night concerts or 4th of July. We're always being approached by people who want to rent boats. They're always, everyone I've ever spoken to that's parked there, people come up and they approach, they want them. So we think the demand will be very good, and we think it'll be very popular. And we know that the cost is reasonable because it's consistent with the rates in other parts of the country. It should be fine. So next steps, we'd like to address any concerns of the council members. We'd like to continue to work with the Parks and Recreation Department on a concession agreement, and we hope that you'll approve and authorize a concession agreement in the next round. Dave, you want a couple of wrap-up comments?
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Dave Murdoch, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, sure.
Thanks. They just told me to do that, so I'm telling you.
I really just wanted to highlight a few key aspects of this proposal that comes up every time the subject comes up. And one of the very first things people express is, well, what about all these inexperienced drivers? And I think the best way I can kind of put this in perspective is to sort of play it back to you. I'm sure, or I would expect that at least some of you have rented a houseboat at Lake Shasta or on the Delta perhaps, or Lake Powell. These are boats that are 56 feet, sometimes larger. They're 15 feet wide, sometimes they're 2 stories high. And people rent these boats with no boating experience routinely. Our boats are 16 to 22 feet. They'll be smaller than that initially, but the potential is there for a 22-foot boat. So when you put that in perspective, when you run a houseboat at Lake Shasta, you get about 10 or 15 minutes of instruction, typically a checklist, that you are run through by somebody who's sitting there describing the various aspects. Here's the throttle, here's the ignition, I mean, basic stuff. And they turn them loose. And these boats are rented very successfully and enjoyed by a lot of people at these other facilities. So we would like to just put that in perspective for all of those who are concerned about inexperienced drivers. This is not a new phenomenon. I think the other concern that comes up routinely is the privacy issue for those of us who happen to live on the water. All you really need to think about is that our launch is public accessible. So that means anyone from anywhere really can bring their boat, launch it at any time, go anywhere with no control whatsoever. This program is designed to have that under control and to know who it is that's on the water. I think next I'd just like to bring out the point again of access for all residents of Foster City. As a major parks and recreation attraction, doesn't it make sense that we make it available, not only just the access, but the opportunity to enjoy the lagoon? It is a park facility that should be made available to everyone. And then finally, with everyone having access and the opportunity to utilize that parkland, we would improve the quality of life for all residents of Foster City, and the outcome of that ultimately means home values go up. Businesses are growing because visitors come in, they shop, they use the restaurants and so forth. And so the bottom line for everyone really is a better social and economic environment, an improved quality of life for the residents of Foster City. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, I have another speaker, Eric Carpuz. Hello, Eric.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor Frizella and City Council members and city staff. My name is Eric Corpus. I'm a Foster City homeowner on the waterfront in Neighborhood 1 and a Duffy boat owner. I have lived in Foster City for the past 8 years, and my wife and I, for over 15 years now, have been fortunate to enjoy the beautiful amenities that Foster City has to offer to the community, including recreation on the Foster City waterways. I appreciate Mike and Dave's presentation today, and I would be in support of a boat rental program, but under certain limitations and restrictions, primarily to address a lot of the concerns that have already been raised. And maybe they've already been addressed, but one of the items that, and I understand that Parks and Recreation staff is recommending that City Council enter into contract negotiations at this time for a boat rental business. But as you consider whether or not to proceed into contract negotiations with the concessionaire, I urge you to really consider and thoroughly implement these restrictions that I had mentioned based on public input and concerns. From the documents and public memos that I have reviewed, maybe I'm a little confused, and maybe we can have a sort of a Q&A afterwards, but it seems to me that neither the concessionaire nor the city will assume any liability in the event of any damage or harm caused by a boat renter. In the draft rental agreement in the proposal, there's language in there for which refers to indemnification and hold harmless type language, basically saying that the renter assumes all responsibility. So I'm not an attorney, but a lot of the friends that I've spoken with have a lot of concerns with regards to that. If a boat renter causes a collision, causes property damage, and God forbid injury or worse, it seems to me that by signing that indemnification, then the only person that we can go after is a boat renter, and we don't know who they are. So that I wanted to highlight that as you consider this for approval. As part of the proposal for a boat rental business, some of the cited benefits is to expand community access to the lagoon for recreation, and that renters are likely to shop and dine in town. On a more global focus, I definitely can appreciate the benefits of making our waterways more readily available to the community, and I certainly invite that. We enjoy sharing what we have in Foster City with a lot of our friends that don't live here. That's certainly a huge enjoyment for us, is to be able to share that. But I'm not convinced that a boat rental program at this time is the best means to address inviting more readily accessible amenities with the community and making it more appealing. However, if a boat rental business was a component of a larger plan to enhance the amenity of our waterways or to enhance the overall appeal of Foster City, maybe then, and under certain restrictions and limitations that I had mentioned, I might be supportive of a boat rental business. That larger plan I speak of should be along the lines of an overall plan to activate and further improve the appeal of our waterfront parks, our waterfront retail restaurant establishments, and improve docking and mooring options at public venues, like at Edgewater Place Shopping Center. After such enhancements are in place, I think only then should a boat rental business be appropriate. So I'm not shooting down the proposal of having a boat rental business. I think it would thrive in Foster City. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in the right order. I want to make sure that we're mindful of our economic development, making sure that we have appealing choices for not only our residents, but our visitors. We have a huge, as you know, daytime population in Foster City. And instead of going over to San Mateo and bleeding tax increment revenue over there, what can we do to keep it over here in Foster City? They work here. They should be spending their time and enjoyment with their coworkers after work in Foster City. So what can we do? And this is sort of my thinking of an overall plan. Again, are we approaching this at the right time? Are we approaching this proposal at the right time? So I guess the question really is, are we ready for a boat rental program? I would certainly be in support of it, but at the right time. And I think as our city council, I would please urge you to consider that. Approving the proposal now would move to commercialize our waterways, which might not be the right move for the city at this time. I just want to make sure that the city is mindful of and thoughtful and thorough about partnering between residents and commercial property owners with a plan to enhance and breathe new life into existing amenities like our city's waterfront retail and restaurants. I'm confident that at some point we will be ready for a boat rental program. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, does anyone have any questions of staff?
Questions of the...
Okay, you have questions of staff, anybody?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Kevin, I know I was at the Park and Rec meeting, but I just want, this is a different meeting, so to date, there have been no accidents with boats that have resulted in a property claim in Foster City, right?
Not that I'm aware of in regards to the concessions that we oversee. There has not been.
Are there, have there been collisions between Duffys?
Again, with the concession operation that we oversee, with the water activity, both on the lagoon and East Third Avenue, no, there's not been a claim that's been brought forward.
And this, I know this one's going to sound kind of ridiculous, but have any Duffys run over any swimmers?
I'm not aware of any incident where a Duffy has run over a swimmer, no.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Do you have a question?
I've got questions, but I'm not sure who,
Okay.
let whoever wants to
right.
answer appropriately, but if
Okay.
he's got an question.
Oh, you have another question? Sorry.
Oh, thank you. I just have two questions of Dave and Mike, if it's okay.
Of Michael? Okay. Michael and Dave, you want to just?
Yeah, conceptually, I support the program. I think we really should take advantage of our waterways, but I have a couple of concerns. And one, not personal, Dave, but your comparison of Shasta Lake and Foster City, I don't buy that at all, because that's their problem. It's not ours. So I wouldn't use that particular one. But the first concern I have is on the educating of the boat renter. Now, most of us are thinking in terms of here's how you go forward, here's how you go back and whatnot. But, being an old Boy Scout, we took a lot of time learning the rules of the road, rights of way, where you can take your boat and where you could not. And I think you need to be sure that that particular educational aspect of the program is expanded so that they truly understand what they're required of. The second is on the agreement, you have certain restrictions, 25 feet from other docks, certain waterways you can't go down. I would suggest that instead of just saying, here, read this, sign it, you go over each item and have them initial each point so that they understand what they're getting into. And then finally, other than perhaps damage, and they're responsible for that with their credit card, you don't know if they've docked at their friend's house or in a particular area that they're not supposed to be. So I didn't see any penalties there, and I didn't see any way for you to keep track of those restrictions. So I would like to direct staff to make sure those issues and elements of the contract are looked at.
Do you have any questions? I think so.
Yeah, I got a couple. And I'm, staff or the applicant, I don't really,
Okay.
it doesn't matter, who's ever applicable. Do you have any age restrictions? Minimum age?
I don't think we put in there, but I believe it'll be either 21 or 25 on the renter.
Okay.
So not just a driver's license.
On the renter. The renter is the
So
one
it's
is,
not just
becomes
the
the
driver's
captain.
license,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And okay, thank you. And also on the training, I'm going to go on what was Steve was just talking about. 15 minutes, I don't think is going to be enough. And I'll tell you why. I've been driving in this city for 20 plus years. But when you ride a boat in the lagoon, the topography is totally different, the landscape is totally different, and where are you? So I think it's going to take a little bit more education and more maps, if you will, to know where you are. One of the things in the staff report, it says process to verify the liability insurance held by the renter. Why do we have that in there?
I can probably respond to that. The question came up in regards to, a comment was made to Edgewater Marine and Michael and Dave that, in fact, when you rent a car, you had to prove that you had insurance, and that was not accurate. You do not. So the question came up in one of the public meetings saying that they should have to ask for proof of insurance. At this time, again, we will go into negotiations, but to address that public concern, we are not going to make that a requirement, similar to a rental car, that you indicate when you rent a car, you have insurance, and that's what you indicate to the business, and that's how that came about. So it came out about as a public comment on verifying insurance.
So that's the liability insurance for damage to the boat, or?
The vendor, our concessionaire, will carry their own insurance. $2 million, as part of our concession agreement, they will have a insurance requirement certificate that names the city and the district as additional insured for $2 million.
Okay. Alcohol. Where are the, okay, oh, excuse me, let me come to the other question. Now, are you talking 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year type of operation?
We like to offer year-round. It's a little bit, you have to be careful in the winter because of the weather. When there's a storm coming, the water gets lowered, and it's really not advisable. We won't want to rent boats when the water is lowered down just before a storm. The normal winter level is actually okay, but there are shallow spots, and we know where they are, and we'll mark them on the map because we don't want to damage the boats either. But year-round water boating around here it's beautiful. Christmas time with the lights, although we have a dawn to dusk, you know, we're not going to, initially we don't want to rent at night. We don't want to rent on Friday nights. We don't want to rent on 4th of July night. But as we see it go, we may come back and say, well, what about dusk at Christmas time with the Christmas lights? And, you know, we'll go from there. But initially, we think it's 11 o'clock to dusk. It's going to be, there are only going to be 2 boats to start. It's probably going to be initially mostly by appointment. Just in the lead up to these conversations, I've been getting phone calls from people that want to make reservations for rentals. So just to be practical, you know, 11 to dusk would be great, and if we can run year round, it'll be great.
Okay, all right, let me go take that a little bit further. Now, you're going to want to operate between 11 and dusk. Where are these boats going to be docked between 11, or dusk and 11 the next day?
At our homes. Dave has one and I have one.
Oh, so they're going to be at your homes?
They're going to be at homes because there's no public docking facility here. And
So-
we're not going to keep them on trailers.
Okay, so we're talking 2 homes?
Yeah.
2 boats, max?
Well, we can handle more than that, but our properties can handle more than 2 boats. But our initial proposal is that we rent 2 or 3 boats, And then we start to contract with other homeowners that want to put their boats into the pool. So the boats will be dispersed.
Wow. Okay, and then do you have any monitoring program put in place to if they're getting too close to people's houses? I know that wasn't a problem necessarily with Elegant, but the prior boat concession, but
You know, we don't have a simple way to start. And we really do need to start in a simple way. But it's not very hard to put a GPS on a boat that you can monitor remotely. So there are electronic mechanisms to do that. And if it becomes important, it's something that we can implement. I wouldn't want to be required to start off that way. We'd like to start off in a very simple manner with a couple of boats. We're not worried about if they have a problem docking because we're going to catch them. They're boats that are strong and sturdy. They only go 5 miles an hour. And we don't expect these renters to be going all over the place. And if we get complaints, then we'll have to implement.
And also, we mentioned that one of the things that we will negotiate, and I think it's important, we did it with the other electric boat concession, we will require that these boats are easily identifiable as a rental boat. There will be a phone number. We've talked about putting it on the transom, but there will be a way for the public to identify that it's a rental boat and contact the Department of Parks and Recreation and/or the rental Edgewater Marine to say, here's what we've observed, and there's a problem, or they came too close. So there will be an identification program.
okay. And I'm going to come back to where you're docking the boats. Are they going to be docked outside well, let's set it in here somewhat, but explain to me the times that it will be docked outside the rec center.
When we're either waiting for renters to rent the boat, or if we're delivering a boat to a renter that's reserved it. So it'll be there temporarily. We probably want to have some sort of flag or sign, because we'd like to be able to have a couple boats there that people could walk up and rent. But initially, I don't think they'll be there. I think they're going to call ahead and they're going to be reserved, and then on weekends, we'll take them and sit them in front of that center.
Okay, but theoretically, a boat with the advertising on it
Sure.
could be there docked all day?
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that answers it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Herb, do you have something?
I've got a lot of comments. I don't have any questions. In that case, I'll take the opportunity to talk. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have, the only questions I have, I have the answers to, so I don't want to waste your time with a lot of questions. But the only thing I would say by way of a question was, I thought the presentation that I saw at the Park and Rec Committee relative to the business plan had some questions that I think you answered this evening. It would be my hope, these are going to be comments, so I'm going to wait. I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions?
Questions? No.
Yeah, I had a question, and I just wanted to make sure that there would possibly be an option to have a captain say I wanted to rent the boat, and I don't trust myself and my driving ability with a boat, and so can you provide a captain?
We already have, as part of our organization, a licensed, U.S. Coast Guard licensed captain that can be hired out with any rental.
So, and then you'll put that price in the brochure?
Yeah, we could put that price in the brochure.
Okay. I had similar questions about the training too, the ABCs of training. I know the people that have emailed me that's their biggest concern. And not that we see a lot of swimmers in the water, but for the swimmers, another person had a concern about if we give it to them, then, what's to stop more concessions, to come out, which doesn't, I'm saying it because I said I would address that issue. And I think I can answer that question that we'll take them as they come, right?
we can manage it, so
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
sole concession, meaning we can put in the agreement that if you want, that's how you would manage capacity, that's an option. If
Okay.
council wanted to do that.
I still don't quite understand the insurance part of it. Because the way I read it is the insured was the only one that could be sued. So I'm not reading that correctly.
And managing the
Okay.
and when we manage the concession, the insurance that we're accepting is from the concessionaire. So that's in
Okay.
managing the
So if
contract.
there's-
If there's an incident on the water, we're dealing directly with the concessionaire. The city is.
So can the city be sued is my question.
I'm sure the city could be sued.
Remember, this contract hasn't been negotiated yet, and so when we negotiate it, you would see in the contract that would come back to you our standard language for indemnity, and Kevin is right. What we always do is we look to our concessionaire, and so if we are sued, we tender the defense of that, and we expect that the concessionaire will indemnify and defend the city for any damages.
Okay. Does the Park and Rec Department get any special cuts out of the deal? Well, I'm just asking.
As part of this authorizing us to go into negotiations, yes, we will negotiate a percentage of the gross receipts, which is typical of our concession. So yes, there's a financial benefit to the city.
Okay, so we have to advertise for you. Questions?
So, and these
I mean,
are
comments.
comments. So to start with, the waterways of Foster City are a public amenity. They are a park. And just like any other park in Foster City, they should be open to the public to be used. And in fact, they are open to the public. Anyone, including me, I don't live on the water, I have a boat. I get in my boat and I row faster than the Duffys. And once in a while I end up in the water. But they should be, and that's what they are. Our property owners on the water do not pay any more money for being on the water, nor should they be afforded any different treatment than anyone else in the city that lives next to a park or a waterway. And most of the comments that I've seen relative to the waterfront have been that sort of sense of expectation. And I would like to see the waterway better activated. My sole concern relative to the proposal is the lack of impact. And I think that one of the things I would ask staff to do, like we would do with any other concession or any other business that we do, is to look at maximums and minimums. So if we're going to open this door and we are going to enter into an exclusive agreement relative to the concession, I would like to see some consideration of a minimum amount of boats that would be available for rental and perhaps a maximum amount so we can get to a place where we understand the impact. A general comment about business in general, I would love for this to be, I don't see people stopping to have lunch, but I would see people stopping by Edgewater Plaza and getting lunch from one of the 7 restaurants there and having it delivered, and an iPhone app that would allow them to do that, to order it on the water and pick it up. I think that would be fantastic, and I think there are ways to do that. With regard to, my concerns for you as business people is that there is a lack of depth of, at least what I've seen, to the proposal. But that's your business. That's not our business. It's your business to do your business as well as you can. What it sounds like at this stage, we had a place back east called Two Guys, and it was an auto parts store. And you guys sound like two guys with boats trying to rent boats. So I would like to see it be better, and that's why I would ask Kevin to look at minimum and maximums over the period of the life of the agreement, because it may become a profitable thing. With regard to the rental times, I don't share the concerns that others may have about the rental times. I do think that you have to look at where they will set up shop. And what does that mean? I know right now we have the wind concession, and they have kind of Quonset hut sort of things. It sounds like all you guys need is a table and a chair, maybe an umbrella if it gets windy. But I would encourage you to do your best to make it vital, because I do think that the waterway is one of the most underused amenities that we have in the city. I am also cognizant of the privacy of people on the waterway, and I like the fact that you're taking that in consideration. It would be interesting to see if you were on a boat on your iPhone the next time when you pull up Google Maps, does it actually show the waterway as a map. And if it does, then that probably solves your problems as far as GPS or people wanting to get lost on the waterways. As far as it in general, I like the idea. I think it activates, as part of our sustainability, the access of the waterways to those who don't have the ability to own a boat or don't have a home on the water, if they so desire to spend money to get on the water and enjoy a nice afternoon with their kids. I don't think that the boats are going to be rented by a bunch of hoodlums that are going to speed 5 miles an hour. And my experience in the water is 5 miles an hour is 5 miles an hour, and water, when you hit something, you tend to bounce off of it. So I don't know if we ever get to the liability issue. With regard to the liability issue, this, as much as anything else is, the city will do its best to indemnify itself. The city potentially could get sued, and of course, we would hold you guys responsible for that as part of a contract agreement. With regard to the renters themselves, the only other consideration, it would be interesting for you to check with Newport to see if they have an additional liability waiver that you could sell so that the renter themselves could be insured, much as you do with a car if you choose to opt in for that for an extra 10 or 20 bucks or whatever it is. So those are just my general comments. I think you guys have a decent opportunity to do business here. I would just like to see it. Have you done a business plan to see what the potential revenue would be? So what do you think the revenue is?
Well,
we're going to know anyway.
Do you mind speaking into the microphone, please?
I mean,
Or
do you
the
see it as
thousands
$100,000 a year, 200, 300?
No, it's more than that. So
Okay.
each boat can be self-sustaining, and we would expect it, if this is successful as we would expect it to be, based on what we've seen, we would be putting in fairly expensive boats. We're going to start very simply, but typically you buy heavy-duty boats that have double battery packs that are a little bit larger. There's some really nice rental-ready boats from Duffy, but they're in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, but they'll easily pay for themselves once you're rolling.
I mean, I guess I'm not asking the right question. So if you're doing a concession and we get a piece of the concession, which is what our agreements are your gross receipts 200 a year, 300 a year, or are they?
They should be.
Okay.
Maybe not the first year, but
So
they
I'm
should be.
confident that staff will negotiate a fair amount of that so it comes back to the city and pays for park and lieu fees.
Okay,
That would
thank
be
you.
disclosed in the agreement, yes.
Okay, Charlie?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with probably the first two-thirds of what Herb just said, so I won't repeat it. But, so indemnity and hold harmless language, that's to protect the city and to some extent the vendor, but it does not limit anybody who's damaged from suing the vendor and the city and anybody else they think they have liability for. It doesn't change that what's one iota. Just gives us an opportunity to the extent that there's A, insurance, or B, capital from the vendor or from the renter to recover that, because it's really their fault. So that's really not an issue as I see it. Education, let's turn to education. I have friends who have houses on the water, and I'm sure if I said to them, can I get a Duffy and park it at your house? They would say, sure, no problem. And I, with no training whatsoever and never operating a Duffy in my life, could drive that Duffy anywhere I wanted to, anytime I wanted to, with zero education. So since we don't license anybody to pilot on the water, I don't really see that, a 15-minute instruction of here's how to go forward and here's how to go backward is insufficient in any way. If they do this, I've rented power boats that you could ski off the back of, and you probably don't get 15 minutes of instruction. You get push the throttle forward, pull the throttle back, So I don't really see that as an issue. Privacy. I have a bedroom in the front of my house, and there's nobody can stop anybody from parking or driving past the front of my house or parking in front of it. And, if the window's open, they can see inside, and if the window's closed, they can't. So nobody owns the back of their house where the lagoon is. That's ours. And you should protect your privacy as I do in the front of my house. That's just the nature of it. And I don't see that because I would like to use the water but happen not to live on it, that you should stop me because I shouldn't be able to look in your window while anybody else who lives on the water and can use the water can look in the window. I don't really see that as an issue. I also don't see that as, this as a slippery slope. These were the same arguments I remember hearing, although I wasn't sitting here, when we had the first concession. And as we can see, that first concession is gone. There wasn't 1,000 people wanting to do it. And this is the first other person who wants to make the water more available to those of us that don't live on the water. The water is a wonderful feature. I've been out in Duffy boats many times. It's fun, it's relaxing. When people come in from out of town, you know, we had used the prior vendor services and had little picnics and took people out there. It's really a pretty and different view that you don't get to have if you don't live on the water. But I think it's a wonderful way to make this available. I spoke with Kevin a bit before this, because my primary concern was insurance. And I'm satisfied that he has looked at other programs similar to this and that we're going to have the necessary insurance. I really have two kind of issues that I could see from today's presentation. And one is the number of boats. What I don't want to see happen, and so I hope you can incorporate this in the contract, is that I show up for the concert in the park and nobody could dock their boat because there's 5 rental boats in that spot. So we got to limit that somehow. I don't think that's unreasonable in any way. My other concern is kind of personal liability of the vendors. So, for example, I do a lot of real estate stuff. So when someone comes to me and says, oh, I want to get in the business of buying old houses, rehabbing and sending it out, I'm going to form an LLC. I said, well, no one's going to make you a loan to a brand new LLC because there's no financial backing to that. So I would like to see some skin in the game, so to speak, by the individual folks. And I'm not saying they need to be 100% liable, but we should look at that as an issue as we go through the contracting process. Because if we get something, God forbid, now I can't, it's hard to imagine, but it's possible that we get some liability in excess of $2 million, we become the deep pocket otherwise. And I don't want us becoming the deep pocket. Those are my comments. I think it's a great idea, a great opportunity, and I support it.
Steve? Art?
Yeah, I'd like to obviously see us use our waterways a little bit more, or if we can. My concerns basically are training both in boat usage and Foster City Lagoon navigation, as I pointed out a few minutes ago. I take to heart, I've driven houseboats, so I appreciate it doesn't take that much, but there are those, and I'll leave it at that. I have a little bit of a concern. If you are extremely successful, whenever I look at these kinds of things, I say, okay, let's take the pendulum and swing it the other way. You are 100% successful and your business grows. And Charlie kind of alluded to it. I'm not sure I would like to see, he used 5, I'll use 10 Duffy boats lined up with your advertising, which I would expect you to have, outside the lagoon room at the rec center. It just, to me, would diminish the beauty of the lagoon room and the rec center. And the other thing is, you're docking at your houses, and I appreciate that, and you're going to be, again, I'm 100% successful. Where are you going to be docking these other boats? You're going to get your friends and neighbors and all. Now you're getting into some kind of negotiations with them, and how is that all going to work out? That's more of a rhetorical question, but it's something to think about. And I would add to this, I'll go along with this, but I'd like to see, I think what we did with Elegant, we came back with like a 6-month report or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true, Kevin?
Yes, we did a 6-month, we entered the agreement for, I think it was 2 years, but we had a 6-month evaluation report back to the city council. And again, with the city attorney, we clearly had terms to terminate the contract as well. The reason we're recommending the longer-term contract is their investment up front, but the council can set any type of reporting time back to you as to what's going on with the concession, how it's working, and with Elegant Lagoon Cruises, it was 6 months.
Okay, I'd like to see the same, actually.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to address Eric's concerns, because I do appreciate you coming out to give your comments, even though we've all gotten some emails from people that have concerns. I appreciate that you came out tonight. I want you to know that every single day, we're working on trying to improve the docking areas in Foster City for the boat owners. It is a difficult process, because it's just difficult to work with these property shopping center owners that don't seem to care, what the docking, what it looks like, and it's disgusting, and we all agree. So we are working on that every day through community development and trying to find ways, that we can work the codes to make them comply a little bit better. I'm not concerned about 5 or 10 boats, because there's just 2. I mean, we're just asking for 2. If this changes and we want to restrict it, somewhere else, but we're only talking about 2. So I'm not going to think about the other ones. I do agree, the 25 feet from the shore, I get that, but I kind of agree with Charlie that, I live right by Booth Bay Park, and there's people in front of my house every single Saturday and Sunday lined up. I mean, I couldn't park in front of my house if I wanted to. So I don't have, the rights to, the front of my house. I appreciate we're going to try to keep them that far away, but I think there's some people now just that do it, and they're not supposed to either. Otherwise, I'm okay with the rest of the way this looks.
Just as a point of clarification, for
Yes.
negotiation purposes, what I heard City Council say is that as part of the proposal, we'll come back with a minimum amount of boats and a maximum amount of boats. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4. I just want to make sure that's clear, and I also heard council saying, based on that number, they clearly want to know where they're going to dock, and they would have concerns if they're docked in front of the lagoon room or the rec center. But I just want to make sure, as part of the negotiation, we would work with the concessionaire to identify a minimum and a maximum. Is that what I heard?
And in it, it says we can terminate this contract within 30 days, anytime we wanted to.
That's correct.
So, just so people know if it's not, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Excuse me?
Ready for a vote?
Okay.
I was asking if
Yeah.
you're ready.
Sure.
I move to adopt alternative 1.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500 to move forward with alternative 1.
So that will be on the August 19th agenda. Okay, I'm going to call for a 5-minute break. So at 8:45, we'll be back in session. welcome back to, it's still July 15th, I think. Seems longer. It's still Foster City, and in talking amongst ourselves, we were going to suggest that possibly we move the sustainability piece to the next meeting. That,
Move to table 8.1.
yeah, 8.1.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, I think we're
Motion
back-
carries
oh, sorry.
500.
Then we are at 7.2, I believe.
7.2, consideration to approve or amend primary argument in favor of a ballot measure to increase the city's business license tax on the November 5th, 2013 general municipal election.
Staff report, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, before you this evening is the draft of a primary argument that was authored and crafted under the direction and review of both the mayor and the vice mayor. That would be the primary argument in favor of the business license tax amendment to our ordinance that would be placed before the voters at the November 5th election. This evening, we're seeking your approval by minute order on two issues. One is to approve or amend the primary argument as is drafted in your agenda packet. And then secondly is also by minute order authorizing the mayor and the vice mayor on behalf of the city council to file a rebuttal argument should any type of argument in opposition to the measure be brought forward. We have prepared this primary argument. It will be filed no later than August 16th. Frankly, if you approve it tonight, we'll be doing it probably much sooner than that. And if there is any rebuttal that is filed, we would have until August 26th to file a primary argument on that. So this evening, we're seeking your direction by minute order on those two issues I mentioned, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Steve? Everybody has read it and is happy with it. Okay, then would someone like to make a motion to, by minute order, accept that?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
Next item, please.
Item 7.3, consideration of a second amended and restated joint exercise of powers agreement for the South Bayside Waste Management Authority.
Staff report. I'll talk slow while they're walking to their seats. Brad Underwood. Careful, we might move this to the next meeting. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before you is to consider the Second Amendment to the Joint Exercise Powers Agreement for the South Bayside Waste Management Authority. We recommend you discuss the Second Amendment, basically which deals with the issue raised by the Blue Ribbon Task Force, changing the Board of Directors from the executive level staff from each member agency to elected officials from each member agency. We further recommend you discuss, and that if you approve the change in the Board of Directors, that you recommend by minute order that the City Council appoint members of the council to serve as the Board of Representatives and the Board alternate. Item 2, that you provide direction pertaining to the establishment of a technical advisory committee that would support the board and be comprised of member agency staff. And item number 3, provide direction pertaining to the adoption of the code of conduct for future SBWMA board. This item has come before this body in the past a couple of times and has not passed as far as moving forward with the entire board. The Blue Ribbon Committee has recommended that this change occur. There are several cities that have passed this amendment already. We are asking for your direction on this item.
Does anybody have any questions of Brad? Yeah, this has come up before, and we've never really wanted to change it, but I was on that Blue Ribbon Task Force, and we decided, we thought it would be easier, since we are the people that face the public, that we, as council members, when rates change, or we're asked to change them, that we should be the people making that decision. But our first order of business was going to be to get the technical advisory committee, which would be, I think, the people that were the board members previous, correct?
Yes.
Okay, everybody got that? Okay. Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah,
So-
I've got a comment.
Okay.
Okay. After reading this, there's a group in this county called CCAG, which is City and County Association of Governments, and it's a representative of every city plus the Board of Soups. And they handle transportation, and they're the board, and there's an operational staff that supports it. And this kind of is started to fit similar in pattern to the CCAG operation. So I'm going along with that premise, and I can tell you that CCAG's working. I mean, it worked.
We sort of use that as one of the patterns.
Yeah. Oh.
That we followed, so. So first you need to see that we want to approve it, and then we want to name the people. Okay, so,
Move to adopt the resolution approving the second amended and rescinded joint powers agreement.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
And then,
Move to appoint, I nominate the mayor, Pam Frisella, as our member on the board, primary member.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
And I'd like to name I'd like to nominate Charlie Bunitsky as the alternate on this committee.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
Boy, when people are tired, we can do anything. Yes.
Just as a point of information for the two of you, if 8 agencies approve this, then the new board will automatically be in place. And so there may be a meeting on the 22nd of August.
Yeah, I saw that.
So just for your calendaring purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item, please. Thank you,
Item-
Brad. Laura. Thank you.
Item 7.4, appointment of voting delegate and alternates for the League of California Cities 2013 Annual Conference. Staff report?
Report, please.
Mayor, members of City Council, it is recommended that you, by minute order, appoint a voting delegate and alternate or alternates to be present at the League of California Cities Annual Conference business meeting to be held at 12 p.m. on Friday, September 20, at the Sacramento Convention Center. And Mayor Pam Frisella, Councilmember Art Kiesel, and Councilmember Steve Okamoto have signed up to attend this conference. So the City Council can designate a voting delegate, a first alternate voting delegate, and a second alternate voting delegate, if you choose.
I'd like to nominate Art Kiesel as the voting delegate, Steve Okamoto as the second delegate, and Pam Frisella as the, bringing up the third delegate.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All that want to go home? Okay. Okay.
Motion
Next
carries
item, please.
500.
It just is an added.
Yes.
Okay, just an added thing. I'm also on the Resolutions Committee, which is going to prepare all the voting issues that gets presented to
Good.
the voting delegates.
Then you're that's why I picked you. Okay, next item.
Next item is 9.1, an ordinance of the City of Foster City amending Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations of the Foster City Municipal Code to update the city's business license tax. First reading was June 17, 2013.
Staff report, please.
Madam Mayor, briefly, at your June 17th regular meeting, you introduced an ordinance that would amend the business license tax ordinance and pass that to a second reading, which is being conducted this evening. Upon your approval this evening, it would move forward to the Elections Office to be included at the November 5th, 2013 general municipal election, and the ordinance would not take effect, though, unless it was approved by a majority of the voters of that election. By your approval this evening, this would be the final stage in terms of the business license tax ordinance, and then it would be in the hands of the voters to decide whether they wanted to see this increased or not. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Steve? And you'd like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to adopt the ordinance.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 500.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 11.1, City District Warrant of Demands were processed and issued on June 12, 2013, June 19, 2013, June 24, 2013, June 26, 2013, July 3, 2013, and July 8, 2013. This is an information item only. No action required.
Next item, please.
Item 12, Council Board Statements and Requests and Council Liaison Reports.
Herb, why don't you start us off?
Thank you for a great meeting, and our 13th hour of service to the city today. So we started with our policy meeting. I'm very excited about the upcoming year because we have a lot going on, and I think we had a productive couple of years, and I think this will be even better with the policies that we're considering. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm still here. Very briefly, I just wanted to say that today at our meeting, one of the things that I was advised is that we are still in the process of studying the light sequencing in Foster City, and the current sequence is not finalized. We're still looking at the issue. So those of you who are a bit frustrated with some of the changes, we are still making further revisions and looking into it. And if you have any issues, please let us know, because we want to make it perfect, and we want to make everybody happy to the extent that's humanly possible. I attended the Information Technology Advisory Committee meeting, and just to let you know that one of the things that I've asked them to look at, both for sustainability issues and for communication issues, is modern venues of communication, like communication through Facebook and Twitter, and data that you can actually go into these data sources that these companies maintain and pull out information, like what are people, I forget what the one is where you check into restaurants and stuff, and you can get data on what's happening in Foster City. And so they're looking at that, and will eventually provide a report to us all as to the areas of data that we can mine to get additional information to help us in the sustainability area and to help us in the communication area. I think that's it. I reported on the trip to the Calaveras Dam last time, didn't I? Okay, well, maybe I didn't. So I went up with Bosco to the Calaveras Dam, which is over in the East Bay, because it's one of the areas where the SFPUC is having significant overruns, and sort of through the process of looking at out, got a better understanding of the nature of the problem that they incurred, which was sort of hidden subsurface soil conditions. It looks like an old landslide that they weren't able to see, and they're digging it out. It's an amazing process. I'm sad that we're going to experience some overruns. I understood that there might be enough money in the contingencies right now, or in other savings, that might prevent us from having significant monetary impact, but frankly, they don't really know yet what the full impact is going to be until they fully dug out this mountain that they're in the middle of digging out. But I am extremely comfortable with the fact that the professional staff at the Bay Area Water Supply and Management Agency is on top of the SFPUC, watching every nickel they spend, making sure that what they're doing is the right thing to be doing, in protecting our interest among the other 1.4 million people that we represent in that agency. And so I'm perfectly comfortable that to the extent that they'll save us money by doing the right thing, they will. And as these things develop, I'll continue to advise the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate the city and Kevin's Parks and Rec department for a most fabulous July 4th celebration. I had family in from Hawaii, and they were just in awe of all the activities that we had during the day, and of course, our fireworks, and how quickly in my neighborhood traffic moved. I was telling them in front of my house, it's like a parking lot for half an hour, but within 10 minutes, all the cars were gone. Also wanted to congratulate Kevin again for the summer concert. That first one last Friday night was jam-packed, and everyone really, really enjoyed it. And I was talking to some of your staff about some of the evaluations, and they all were in favor of bringing that particular band back. It was really a lot of fun, and thanks for the good weather, too. Appreciate that.
I was in charge of that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, do you want me to, the event on the 20th? Can I talk for just one moment?
Yes, you may.
Sorry, this Saturday, there is another significant sustainable Foster City event. It's going to be all day at Charter Square. There's going to be a variety of activities. It's this Saturday, promoting the center and its vendors. There'll be free food and reduced services and all sorts of great things to try to bring in the community and let them meet the vendors, see the wonderful food that's available there and services that are available there and amenities that are available there through the local vendors. So if you get a chance to stop by, please do so and come support, shop local, live local. Foster City, the great place to live, work, and play. Please come by Charter Square on Saturday and see the first of these events as we do them, when we'll be doing them throughout the city on a regular basis, to sort of bring the city and the businesses and the shopping centers closer together and to better understand one another. So hopefully people will come and attend.
Did you
Thanks.
say a time?
Throughout the day. 5 p.m. is the major portion of the event.
5 at night on a Saturday? Okay, not during the day then? All day?
It's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the open house period, where they're really going to be pushing a lot of different things from the different restaurants and different activities. Of course, in the morning, you have the farmer's market, so that's why we're asking people to come out all day. But at night, you should make your plans to eat at Charter Square.
Okay.
Simple enough.
Thank you. Arthur?
Well, after that, my report's going to be pretty mundane here. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was at the league board meeting in San Diego. And just to refresh you, the league is an accumulation of city council members and mayors from throughout the state of California. And we talk a lot about issues that each of us share. And I'm going to, a couple of highlights. CalPERS, the recent CalPERS announcement of trying to smooth the rates out, and for your edification, that smoothing is going to cost us about $360,000 a year. Well, right now, there's a whole lot of lack of confidence in whether those rates are going to stay. They think that it's going to go up and probably going to cost us more. So there's even talk about trying to get somebody from more municipalities on the CalPERS board. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but it's been talked about. Another issue is, and this doesn't necessarily apply to us on the surface, but when I finish, you'll see where I'm coming from. We're not a charter city, but right now the charter cities are not obligated by the state has set a mandate to pay prevailing wage. Charter cities do not have to do that. There are 121 charter cities in the state of California, but where it could affect us in the long term is the state is proposing to withhold funding and grants from those charter cities, and there's going to be a battle over that. Another issue is right now there's AB 340, Assembly Bill 340, was talking about pensionable compensation. And right now they came out with a whole list of things that are not pensionable, and ad hoc, overtime, bonus, incentive, vacation, sick leave, compensatory time off. But what they're trying to do now and trying to move some legislation to amend the legislation, say, well, what is compensationable, or pensionable, excuse me? What counts, what that means is what counts to go into someone's pension when they, the formula for what their salary was. Another one, the tax exempt status for muni bonds. This could, because we're debt free, we don't have any, but this could affect financing for other cities and further hamper them from getting funding for infrastructure projects and the like. And so there's a battle going on with that. You're going to hear another one called Marketplace Fairness Act. Basically, that's a fancy term for saying sales tax on internet sales. So there's a bill going on, floating around that. And the big boy is AB 1484, which I'm sure staff is smiling over. The league sued the state of California over the clawback issue. And the judge ruled not necessarily against the league, but what their comment, I learned a new legal term, it's not ripe yet, which means nobody's been harmed as yet. Now, there have been letters gone out from the Department of Finance that they're going to withhold that which the clawback, or they're going to withhold property tax and sales tax unless they pay up. So the league right now is sitting there waiting to see what's going to happen because there are 126 lawsuits addressing the clawback issue. And have a good evening.
We all need a Valium now, but, well, I'm the liaison for the Office of Emergency Services, and we do meet every other month and talk about just everything in this city or in this county. And I just wanted to give a shout out after talking to Chief Keefe of our fire department. We were so prepared for that response at the tragedy at the airport. They always talk about at these meetings how prepared we are and how we're able to communicate with each other. Unlike very many counties in this state, we are far and above more, just way more advanced than anybody else. So the way we handled that, our fire department was there. I'm very proud of our fire department. Also, right around that day, the day after, I forget, firefighter Stromby was injured in the Redwood City fire, and he is back at work now, and I have not talked to him, but he's got a big burn on his face. But we responded to that fire. I guess it was an apartment fire in Redwood City. On the 4th of July, I was very, very pleased, and I know Kevin is as proud as all of us are of the Veterans Honor Wall. It turned out absolutely fabulous. There were many tears and very many appreciative people. Channel 4 just showed up about an hour before we were to start and interviewed me and talked to Kevin and did a really nice piece at 5 o'clock on the 5 o'clock news about a minute and a half piece, and then about a 5-minute piece on the 6 o'clock news, interviewing Piegler and a couple other people. It was really an honor. And financially, I know we're worried about raising money for that. We're up to 60 plaques now that will be there for the actual Foster City residents or employees of the city, and we have at least 25 of the honor plaques for anybody else that wants to honor anybody. So I'm very proud of that day. To start with, we did a breakfast, the Rotary Club. That's the first time we did the pancakes, and these two were in the tent cooking the pancakes. So our Rotary Club took over for the Island Church, who they have shrunk. They're getting older. They've shrunk short-wise, but they've shrunk in number. So we got Charlie. But anyway, so we took it over from them, and it was awesome. Actually, the man that ran it there for the last many, many years actually joined our Rotary Club. So he walked us through it. We served, by all estimates, about 950 plates of pancakes. and it ran smoothly. It was a little sticky, I guess, but it was fabulous. And the fireworks, obviously, I'm sure, well, you were out of town, but I'm glad you weren't on that Asiana flight. He was on the one before that. But it ran smoothly. Everybody said they couldn't believe the traffic was gone within an hour. And but Chief Matt Martell has a lot to do with that organization, so I thank you for that. And with that, we are going into closed session now, and I would bid you all good night. But not you. You guys can.
Recess into closed session, 13.1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case. 13.2, conference with city labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6A, agency negotiators James C. Haughty, Gene Savory, Steve Toller, and Ann Ritzma. Employee organization, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, San Mateo County Firefighters, Local 2400, International Association of Firefighters, and Foster City Police Officers Association.